when my first book came out. And I was talking about how the same day I got the contract from my publisher to write my book, I broke up with the man I thought I was going to marry. The radio host says, "Oh, he took your good years." And it's her show. And I said, "Oh, no, he didn't." Because if I interpret him taking something from me, then I'm going to have lost power. So when you see people who come through traumatic things and they move on because they're busy creating. Yes, all this happened. And then when you see people who are stuck, they're in reaction.
So it's like sometimes the reaction is really just a distraction.
We are back here, Triggered AF. Y'all already know each week we are diving deeper, having some fun, dipping our toe into waters that might be a little bit scary for us. Why? Because we must. This particular conversation here is talking about the plot twist of life, learning how to play the cards you're dealt and still find joy in the space and place that is different from what you imagined. That could be tough, y'all. We are joined today with one of God's favorite daughters, executive coach and business consultant, Charreah Jackson. How are you?
I am doing phenomenal. I'm here with y'all. So
Welcome to the podcast. Thank you for joining.
I see you part of the Triggered AF family. So
Yes, and we have to initiate you.
Yes.
Oh, so we ask all of our guests this one question as the initiation to bring you on and just kind of set the tone, okay? So outside of all the titles and accolades and accomplishments and awards and things that you do, who do you say that you are?
I love your question every time. And I say, it's so powerful. I say there's so much power there. I say I am the daughter of the great I am. So I'm God's daughter. I like that. I do agree that I have favor with the Lord. I also would say I am a Southern Black woman. I am Jerry and Cynthia's daughter. I am a truth teller. I am a sage. And I am on fire for what's next and exciting. Like, I'm an impactor. And no one who's ever met me doesn't lead better.
Thanks.
Facts. And that's not me. And also I know my assignment. So I would say I'm an elevator, because I'm clear that when someone is in front of me, I know their next level is knocking, because God has made it clear to me what my assignment and what my anointing is. So I know I'm meant to support people who are transitioning to higher grind.
First of all, can we just hire an elevator? I have never heard that said quite like that. And you know what an elevator does? It makes the path higher easier.
Ooh.
It makes the next level easier because you don't have to expend so much energy. God takes you into a resting place, or you take yourself, if you're getting on your own over there, into a resting place where you get to take the easy route up because you've already done the work to walk onto the elevator.
I love that.
That is good. No, I've never said that publicly, so that's why I love this question. And I didn't prepare an answer. I just we'll see what comes up in the moment. What feels right, and that's what feels right. But I love that.
I love that. I love that. That was great.
Well, that was good. That was real good.
Yeah, we get the best answers.
We do, and no one, out of all the guests that we've had, no one has answered the same way.
Yeah,
and everyone's going down different.
Yeah,
it's
really cool.
Yeah, and it's so interesting to hear how people define and describe themselves. And it just, for me, it's kind of like ooh, that's juicy, or ooh, I like that. I love too the diversity of it all. Like, you get to shine your brightest, most brilliant way, just like you do, just like every person on and off the podcast does. When you can own who you are and be willing to shine in your brilliance, we all get to receive some shade when we need it, some sunlight when we need it, some rain when it's necessary, because we all have these different attributes that we bring to the global landscape.
Ooh, y'all, I love that. And it's so powerful that you say that, because the name of my company is Shine Army. So, and everything we do builds on our Shine method. And so it's such a power word for me. And in this season, I knew. So that's my assignment, is to empower others to fully let themselves shine and have resources and tools to do that.
And you know what, too? And you actually posted something on Le Insta. You posted something on there where you were talking about your messy truths.
Yes.
And one of your messy truths is that even though you are teaching others and elevating others, you have yet to shine yourself, like fully.
Yeah.
You be shining, be clear. Over what 50 national media interviews, 100, like all the, what was it, 100 articles, nation, I'm thinking like
Speaking.
100 speaking engagements, like all the things.
Yep.
Like best-selling books, like you've done the things, okay? And still you're saying that you have still not shined in the way that you know you're supposed to.
Absolutely.
And so then for me, it's like, okay, so one of the most challenging things, right, is learning how to accept the situation, the experience, when the picture that we had in our head didn't quite pan out the way we expected, and it is something different. So what are those first steps to beginning to resolve, your actual reality versus the desired one? Because that is a challenge.
Yeah, let's talk about it. And you're not alone. Like it is to be alive is to have to experience grief of things not going the way you thought they would go.
Yes.
And the longer you live, our society does not do a good job of putting space for non-physical death grief. A dream being delayed, a dream not happening is grief. And so there's got to be spaces where we talk about the disappointment. And as a woman of faith, and as I know, like I can believe in God and still say, God, WTF, like I thought, yeah, well, we do it different. And so my whole life has been, and I love this question, and it's so important we talk about it and have conversations, that it doesn't mean that I'm not grateful. It doesn't mean that I don't have faith when I acknowledge this is not what I wanted. So the same way when you order from Amazon and you open that box and you was expecting a red shirt and a yellow tutu shows up, there's feeling. And you magnify, you multiply that by your deepest heart desires. But what I will say, and it's so important that we honor ourselves as co-creators and honor what is the value. If I truly believe in the end, and I do believe in the end, everything does work out for me in the moments where it doesn't feel like it's working out for me, how can I interpret this? Because, I'm someone who I will say I had a head start on that level of disappointment. I often will say before I turned 25, I had been diagnosed with cancer at 19. I was laid off from my first job in the recession. The whole team I worked in went into work. We all left without jobs, and was dating a guy and thinking he's getting to know me, and he's already engaged. And so all that happened before I was 25. And so at a very young age, I was living in New York City, working in the industry, trying to get my life started, and it felt like hit after hit. None of that was on my bingo card. None of that was on my vision boards. And so what I'm grateful for, though, is that it really took me off of automatic to say, wow, these things, how will I respond? So none of us will make it out of this life where you don't have those moments where life takes you off of what you wanted. The question becomes, how will I interpret what's happening? And who do I get to be inside of this? Because if I give my power away to cancer, I give my power away to heartbreak, if I give my power away to layoffs, then those things become bigger than me. And I think it's so important, even in the worst moments, it taught me, okay, I have the power to create what happens next. So I could not control the plot twist. Nope. This is my life, though. So I think one of the saddest parts is how much we do not take control and manage what we can control, because we let the grief of what we can't control consume us.
Wait a minute. I don't know. I'm gonna need you to read.
I said we often are so, it's like imagine, and the thing is, we even though look at life as almost a car,
Yeah.
right? We live in Atlanta. We see car accidents on the regular.
Number one in the country for car accident deaths.
It is. Sad truth.
Sad.
But that's it. And guess what?
You still get in the car every day? Still do. Still do. Every day.
Every day. And so what does that tell us? That we're willing to say, I know the risk. And let's talk about when somebody's going to get in an accident. I've been in an accident before.
Yeah.
And guess what? I drove again. And guess what? I didn't just sit there in the car and not move.
Oh, right.
I did. So that's where we have to talk about the power of an abundant mindset, or thinking there's still so much more even in the worst moments. So I would say it's so important that you define yourself for yourself, and then through the power of who you are, define your circumstances. So the other thing I've gone through a lot of things that I didn't want to happen to me. I remember I was on a popular radio show when my first book came out. And I was talking about how the same day I got the contract from my publisher to write my book, I broke up with the man I thought I was going to marry. I already asked my dad for his blessing. And I'm like, this is not it. And so I was talking about that relationship. We had been together for years. And the radio host says, oh, he took your good years. And I said, and it's her show. And I said, oh, no, he didn't. Because if I'm walking around like he took something, if I interpret him taking something from me, what kind of energy, then I'm going to have lost power.
Yeah.
And so how you tell your story, and then how you let other people talk to you about your own life story, is very critical.
The City of Miami Gardens presents JITG Music Fest, March 8th and 9th at the Hard Rock Stadium, starring New Edition, Tony Braxton, DJ Cassidy's Pass the Mic Live, starring Charreah, Fat Joe, and Remy Ma.
Just left the big house to a big
Slick Rick and Dougie Fresh.
And it's Dougie Fresh, y'all.
Get ready for the return of Beanie Man.
Who got the
See Escape, Coco Jones.
Here we go.
Ty Tribbett, Kim, True Hill, DJ Nasty's Miami House Party sets featuring Uncle Luke, Dougie Fresh, Young Jock, 69 Boys, Ball Crazy, Mike Smith, Pretty Porcelain, and more to be announced. Also, a special set featuring Miss Lauryn Hill, Wyclef Jean, YG Marley, Busta Rhymes, with special guests Dolce, and many more. JITG Music Fest, March 8th and 9th at Hard Rock Stadium. Tickets at jazzinthegardens.com. Presented by the Black Promoters Collective and the City of Miami Gardens.
Yeah, that's a really big piece too, because there's so much kind of comfort in the victim space.
Oh, yeah.
It feels real good to just sit in that sorrow. Okay.
Because a lot of us, that's what we grow up seeing. We grow up kind of seeing the people that complain, and it's like, hey, like this happened to me, woe is me, feel sorry for me, feel bad for me. I can't do this because all this stuff happened to me. This is why I'm not this way. This is why I don't have the house. This is why, because we want to blame everybody else. So was there a moment, or what would you say are ways that you learned to shift from that victim mentality to shift it from victim to victor, so that you can find joy in whatever the circumstance is?
Oh, I love this question. And it's so hyper nuanced, because I grew up a Black woman raised by a single mom who went through a divorce, raising 2 kids. So there was not much room for a victim mentality. I was raised, girls, you get up, like it was not, my mom loves me, and I grew up loved and nurtured by my family. And also we were conditioned to be ambitious and to achieve and strive and to be able to take care of yourself. So this idea of just being able to, that other people were responsible for me was not how I was socialized. Now, I also say the nuances of that is, as a grown woman who took the time to nurture my womanhood and to reclaim my femininity, I have learned how to be soft, and that still doesn't mean in honoring, oh wow, this hurt, oh wow, I acknowledge my feelings, and I still do not give my power away to something else. So before I go a little deeper talking about why we cannot afford to take on a victim energy, I don't want to mistake to say by not taking on a victim doesn't mean that you weren't harmed, and doesn't mean that you're responsible.
Don't discount your experience.
Absolutely. Right. And so what happens a lot of times when people haven't fully grieved and acknowledged what did happen, they stay stuck in the reactionary role. So I've been guilty of seasons of feeling like a victim. I had a toxic manager for years, and anytime I talked about it, I was in a victim energy. And the more I gave my power away to circumstances and not on what parts and role I played, right? At the end of the day, what were my choices that were impacting what I was complaining about? Yeah.
And so that's why but first, before you can get to letting go of the victim mentality, you do need to properly acknowledge what has happened and what are you taking from it and what will you be leaving and where you're heading next. And so it's so important. So I say that to say I don't want to skip over the fact there does need to be an acknowledgement of the circumstances and you processing what happened to you and then being able to acknowledge how you feel and then also what's next for you and then be able to move on. But because we live in a culture that just sweeps things under the rug, then the whole experience is just under the rug and you're mad versus like, if you need to cry it out, yell it out, tell a story till you get tired of hearing it.
Yeah. So that you can, it's a way of taking back your power.
Absolutely.
And I feel like, so then would you say then that is maybe some of the first steps that you can take to move from victim to victor? Because yes, you acknowledge it and you say, hey, no, this hurt me in this way. How would you suggest framing the story in a way to where you're not just, well, oh, they did this to me, they did that to me? Because I'll be very honest. I have gotten sick of telling people that I'm a domestic violence thriver. I'm sick of it at this point. Like, even in my new bios, I've taken it out. Like, if you know me, then you know, okay, this is an experience that I had.
We don't want to talk about that.
I don't want to keep talking about it. Yeah. But people, because it's what for so long, a piece of my story that I wanted to share to show others what the other side of domestic abuse looked like, it's kind of now people like, oh yeah, you went through, and it's like, I did, but baby, I'm so far beyond that now. I be driving on a whole nother level. So what are some of the ways you can begin, or what are some of the components to know you are the best at helping folks to, shine and share their story? What are some ways or some tools that we can utilize to start to tell the victor piece of our story and not to sit and kind of dig our feet into the victim portion?
Absolutely. And one of the things that is so critical and what you just talked about is the intersection of what we go through and how do we carry it in our identity. Because what you're saying is, yes, it's an experience you've been through, and it's not how you desire to be identified.
Yeah.
And so I think it's so powerful that we do that, particularly to say, who am I? Back to the original question you all asked me when I sat on this couch. It's so important we all do that and then update that answer when we need to. So
Update it.
yeah, because you updated the answer where it's like, yeah, I was that. And, and you've expanded. So you're a survivor to a thriver, and you survive more than just that one experience. To talk about I love this topic. I have to say that because one of the core trainings in my company, we do next chapter leadership. So we're often talking about change and transition. And so you're talking about how do we talk through what we've been through and then move on and tell the story. And so the foundation is always identity, right? Who am I is always the foundational work. And as we have an empowered identity of how phenomenal we are, how amazing it is to be alive and to the gift of life and all the things that make us incredibly beautiful as humans, then it's time to get to the authority piece, right? So you're clear about who you are, then you need to move deeper into your power. And so that's what you're talking through as well, that authority piece of saying, actually, I'm in a new season. I've grown and expanded. And so I just want to first acknowledge and say thank you to those of us. There are people who needed to hear the story, and they will. And knowing that I don't have to lead with what has become small further and further in the rearview mirror. So if you want evidence, we in a culture, right, everybody's doing the work, which is beautiful. If you want evidence that you are truly expanding and deeper into who you were born and created to be, then the things that used to make you wince, you like, oh yeah, that did happen. That's evidence of growth. That when you're like, oh yeah, that did happen. Like there's things that 5 years ago you brought it up, I don't want to talk about that. Now, oh yeah, that did, yeah, you're right, that did. It's because you've outgrown that. So, but how we get there is process it. So I want to also acknowledge the courage it takes to share the tough parts of our stories. And as someone who spent 10 years as a senior editor at the world's largest magazine publisher, who's interviewing thousands of people and often told stories around from tragedy to triumph, we do need to be more comfortable talking about the fullness of who we are and what we've been through.
Yeah.
And that is how we access all of our power, release the shame, release the feelings that these things make me less,
because I talked about being a cancer survivor. This year will be 20 years.
Wow.
And of the first 10 years, I didn't bring it up much. At all.
Why, Mads?
Because my interpretation was I thought that it made me look weak.
Oh.
I didn't want people to wonder, like, oh, is she okay? And so because that was my feeling, I thought, and I thought it made me, and at that point too, it still hadn't processed and shedded the pressure of perfectionism. I thought it made me look less than.
Ooh.
And so, and over time though, God worked on me and revealed to me it's in our worst moments where our strength is born, not the highlight. It's what you have the courage to withstand and get back up from. That often, if you hear anyone who talks about, if you ask someone what makes you strong, they often will tell you about their worst days.
Yeah.
And how that led them to their best days. But they want you to, it means more to say, you know, I made $1 million and okay, you know, I have $5 left to my name.
At one more break. Like,
And so how I did, I was negative, whatever. Like those are the stories that become riveting. And so I just say that to say it's, yeah, I could talk on that.
Well, you know, because no, it's important to talk about it because it's like, how do you deal with that shame and that guilt and that embarrassment and even the anger that can come as a result of being forced to deal with the things you can't control or things that you just didn't plan for. Like that sometimes is what keeps people stuck, is that they're so mad that they can't even move. Like, okay, maybe you move through the victim part, but now I'm mad. Like I feel like, how could I have done that?
All right, y'all, we know we're all survivors. I'm a survivor, you're a survivor, our grandmothers are survivors, our mama's a survivor. But what does your life look like when you move from surviving to thriving?
Exactly, because here's the thing. Staying in that cycle of survival for so long makes you miss out on the best parts of life that only come after you have learned how to thrive. The challenge, if you choose to accept it and understand it, is that the only way to get to the thriving part of this whole life thing is to learn how to change.
With this program, you'll get 7 tools that you can use that will take you from awareness all the way to advancement so that you will have the skills and you'll be able to apply some of these tools and resources to start living the life you actually want.
It is absolutely time for you to not only take control of your life, but to start creating and designing a life that feels as good as it looks. Go now, hurry up. Go.
Why was I so weak to leave? How could I be so stupid? I remember when I was in a relationship and my boyfriend cheated on me. And I remember that for whatever reason, I don't know why this was the way my brain was working, but I was like, how do I want my story to be?
Yes.
When I didn't determine if I was leaving him or not yet, I was like, what do I want to be able to tell my daughters one day? What do I want to be able to tell my friends? What do I want to be able to tell other women? And it's always for me, where do you find your strength? Are you finding your strength in staying? Is it worth it to stay and work it out with this person because of maybe there are other factors that make more sense and you feel strong like this? Or is the strength in you leaving? So, you know, like for me, that's how my brain operated. But for people who, or in moments where I didn't feel that and I was just mad or I just felt shame and guilt, how would you say people can move through that or reframe that in a way that they can start to actually make progress as opposed to just wasting their whole life feeling like there is no other option?
And it would be a waste.
Yes.
Because the same letters it takes to create the word reacting are the same letters it takes to create the word creating. And you can only use the letters once.
Amazing. I love
So when you see people who come through traumatic things and they move on because they're busy creating. Yes, all this happened. And then when you see people who are stuck, they are in reaction.
Okay.
And I'm
That's a great way
you
to
don't
put
get
it.
to the point because I want to say you have 2 options. They start with a G. You can hold a grudge or you can grab your gratitude.
Okay.
But often and I say this to someone who's been there, when I've been angry and resistant to the reality of what actually is happening in my life, then I haven't fully been grateful that I'm even here to have, and I have access to other choices.
Oh, and other opportunities.
So even if my first choice and what I wanted and how I saw it, and I had my whole script, and because how arrogant to think we could have controlled it.
How arrogant.
Right, and I've had the arrogance. So I'm calling myself to the carpet. I've been there. I've been frustrated, and you know, my faith has helped me. And I am angry. I've been angry with God. God, I thought you said. I'm sure this is what I heard, and this is not looking like nothing that I heard. This was not the prayer. And so in those moments, it requires the things that will give you access to power is surrender. Because if I'm just dependent on me, that's always going to be a lot of pressure. Yes. So I really do the work to connect with a higher power and then get grateful. And I don't say that as I remember the weekend, everything shut down for COVID back in 2020. And I was visiting New York to do a training. I was visiting one of my good friends, and then the training got canceled, NBA canceled, everything started canceling. I had already moved back to Atlanta a few months before, and I'm like, oh my gosh. And my best friend, and she's like, you stressed, and you sitting here with me, we having Thai food and wine. You're good, you're okay. And it snapped me, but from that day to this day, I've every day gotten back to a gratitude jar, because I was off. And I have days where I'm like, oh, and I'm like, what am I not acknowledging? What am I not being grateful for? Because I'm so focused on reacting. Yes. That I'm not receiving the blessings that are showing up, and I'm not creating what I actually want based on, okay, that didn't happen. We can always pick up the pen and edit our stories and also turn the page for a new chapter.
Right. So it's sometimes the reaction is really just a distraction.
Yes.
From what it is that you're supposed to be creating.
Absolutely.
That really resonates with me. Yeah.
Sometimes, I'm going to just have to say that again for the people in the back, on the side, on the corner. Sometimes the reaction is really a distraction from what you're supposed to be creating. Now, okay. Wow. I'm sitting here with just all the chills, all the goosebumps, and then all the appreciation for you just even being willing. Every time you open your mouth, I call you one of the most transformative humans I know, because every time you open your mouth, it's literally like a portal where you are just so open and you just say it so calm, and it's just did you just snatch my edges? Are you none more?
Listen, I just try to get out of God's way more, because when I've gotten it, and I've got the bumps, I got the bruises. Always been this version of me.
Yeah.
And I say that, having things not go my way, why am I I didn't create me. And I'm trying to force it something. And I'm like, wait, why don't I go back? So I know what I want. I don't need, is this what shit like the cake? I realize, let's just get me a little sign. And I've never asked God for a sign and not gotten it.
I think too, it's when we get the sign, it's dang, now I gotta do something about it. Because you've made it hella clear and very plain, and now I gotta put up a shut up. And that can be incredibly...
Oh, it could be daunting.
Can you talk a little through that? And this is really for me, y'all. This is great for y'all too, but for me, it's but how did you continue to kind of allow yourself to kind of step into the fullness that you feel like God has for you, and to kind of be obedient and to surrender? What does that work actually look like? Because I feel like I hear people say it, but then it's just but what are the actual steps? And I'm sure it's different for everyone, but just for you, what do you feel like are the things that have enabled you to keep doing that?
It is a muscle. And I love that you said being empowered, being in light is not a destination. I didn't okay, I've never arrived. There is no arrival. There's no moment where you're okay, God, I got it from now. You can go ahead. No. Daily, because you need new mercies, because there's new attacks. There's new challenge. I don't even know what's coming. And so I love you asked that, and I was very disciplined, and God put it on my heart to what I was doing in private to take the time to really distill it out. So I created a system called our Inhale system. It is 8 sessions, and literally, and I'll tell you what they are. The first one is always come back. The first step to ever connecting is belief.
because you have to pay attention to the stories you are telling yourself.
Yeah.
So when people say, I'm a woman of faith, I'm a believer, everybody's believer. Everybody has faith. What do you have faith in? Do you believe it's going to work out? Do you believe it's not? Do you believe men and women can be trusted? Do you believe women can't be trusted, men can't be trusted? Do you believe it'll be easy for you to become a millionaire? Do you believe that I have to scam to be a millionaire? So everyone has faith, everyone has belief. So everything will go back to the foundation or one of the stories I'm telling myself.
Yeah.
And then from there, what are the stories that had me stuck? And so from a practical standpoint, what that looks like from a lifestyle for me is having that relationship with myself where I know where I am and tracking me to know when am I feeling down, when am I feeling low. So journaling is a big part of my life. Also in transparency, y'all know people crazy. Y'all know it's a lot out here. So I have a very much, the ticket to freedom, and I'm the freest me I've ever been, as I've also had to do way more forgiving than I even want to do. In my flesh, my natural, I'm a grudge monster. And I have a good memory, and I can remember word for word what was said. But that does not help me get to where I'm trying to get.
And all of this is like, okay, God, okay. Because your dad ain't me. Okay, he took her gas away, okay?
But the dad to say, but I say that to say I do a lot of work to cleanse. So when I feel myself telling stories that I'm upset, when I find myself angry,
Yeah.
I take the time to process the anger. So some of the books I love, I do Radical Forgiveness is one of my favorite books for Forgiving Forward. And so particularly for this topic, you will have to do some forgiving, because when you are frustrated and angry that it didn't happen the way you wanted it to happen, that can create a lot of anger. And if you don't acknowledge the anger will turn to resentment, and resentment turns to bitterness.
Yeah.
And bitterness turns to brittleness. So when you meet old people who are nasty and mean, it was all that unprocessed anger. And it's not their fault what happened to them. However, they did not take responsibility for themselves. So they let what could have just been broken and fixed, now they're bitter.
Bitter and brittle. Listen. This,
I ain't mean to, we was going there.
listen, we went there, and I love that we went there. And with all of the pivots, the hey, this was not on the bingo card, with all of the changes and challenges and the cards that you were dealt, that you was just like, now listen, this ain't it. I don't like it. What do you think has been the greatest gift that you've received from things not going planned, what do you think has been the greatest gift in that?
Because the beauty of, and I've had to learn as someone who's really strong not to rely on my own strength. So the moments where my strength and my thinking and my efforts were not enough to get it over the goal line made me realize, oh wow, so it's not just up to me. And I don't mean just from a spiritual space, from people. I ask for help way more than I used to. I ask for help because I'm like, well, so I'm not the first one who wanted it. So even the things you want and it didn't happen as planned, let's be honest with you. Were you trying to do it on your own strength anyway? Did you ask for help along the way? Mm-hmm. Were you trying to force the boulder off the
Right. And then you deny it, that you just decided it out.
There's no area of my life where I haven't had major disappointment. Family, finances, work, relationships, health. There's no area of my life that I have not had major disappointment, major frustration, major attack. And so because I've had to fight in every area of my life, then I'm like, oh, okay, look how strong I am. So to answer your question, I wouldn't even know and love myself the way I do had it all happened the way I wanted it to, because I wouldn't have had to know what it felt. I wouldn't have known how cold towels in the bathroom feel on my face. Like if life hadn't brought me to my knees more than once, and then I got back up.
Yeah.
Because you know how you hear people say, oh, I have a lot of, on my journey to growing our business to 7 figures, on my way to becoming a millionaire, I study and listen to millionaires. And one of the things I always found, so many people say, if I lost it, I could get it back.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because they've lost it and they got it back. And there's a sense of
confidence they have, their assuredness, because they know that no matter what happens, I know I can get me back. And so for those of us who are in a season where things haven't gone your way, this is the season that it is happening. It is happening so you meet the strongest, most powerful, most enlightened version of yourself. So you don't get this need without the girl who had to pack up her dorm room her sophomore year of college and go back home and go through 6 months of chemo and radiation. You don't get the girl who tells you what it's like to sit in Oprah's backyard you don't have the girl who sat through chemo. You don't get the girl who's got books in Australia and New Zealand if I don't tell you about finding out he already engaged. You don't get the type of manager and boss and business owner I am if I don't tell you about the toxic work stuff. So it's those things that didn't happen that were sharpening me along the way. So when you are feeling that way, trust it. And get in community with other people. You aren't the first to have gone through it, so just know that you aren't alone. Yeah. And it will make sense. So even the plot twist that I didn't ask for, you won't give up. You'll have a moment. And I believe that for all of us, where you'll see why the dots will connect.
Oh yeah, Tyler Perry did a really dope post on Instagram around that, where he was showing him. He showed the picture of his apartment that he was living in, and the story goes that he had this apartment. And he was so happy to finally have an apartment after being homeless for some time. And his plays weren't doing well, but he was like, I gotta keep pushing. But he had this apartment, and he was always late on his rent, but he would just scrounge it up and get it. And then one day the owner came and kicked him out.
Yeah, right after he had paid to get all the way caught up.
Yeah, and he was like, no, you gotta go. You gotta go. And he was like, oh my God, I don't wanna go. I need to be here. But he didn't realize just how much he needed to get out of that space to keep, because he started getting comfortable. He started getting complacent. There's just something about trusting these moments that are so uncomfortable, but it's so hard because no one teaches us that. And I feel like especially this upcoming generation, because they are so coddled and everything is to kind of protect them from the trauma and the adversity. I don't know what's gonna happen, but we're gonna hope and keep praying for them. But this is so encouraging to even remind me in my moments to kind of stay in tune with yourself and stay in tune with your higher power, so that you could be like, okay, what is this about? For me, I always would be like, okay, what am I supposed to be learning? Because I don't like repeating the classes. So what are we doing, God? Where are we going? Why am I feeling this way? Why am I in a space where I feel so low? I feel so sad. I feel so hopeless. I feel like, okay, I'm not sure where to go. Get curious is what I hear you saying. Get curious, try to figure out, okay, I'm in this space. What is this preparing me for? What is this about to do for me? So I just love that you talk so much about who you were, preparing you and literally molding you to how great you are now. And then this version of yourself gonna get you to the next version of yourself, and just looking at it like that, and not looking at it like you're damned because something bad happened to you. You're cursed. I grew up hearing that so much. If you did get sick, it was God striking you down. And now you just had to accept that this was going to be your reality. And I'm sure so many people die in that. I think so many people die from their mental state when they're sick, way before the body takes it so low, right?
And the thing is, even with dis-ease, it's dis-ease. And so when you don't, that's why I'm radically intentional with what I say about myself or the environments I put myself in, because I understand as everything that is without starts within.
Yes.
And so in transparency in that space, I know the thought patterns that led me to be diagnosed with cancer in the first place.
Easy? And you think you do believe there was something?
Absolutely. And also the body is, your body is always talking. And so where you're sick and where illness shows up, I've had a lot of women in my life lately who had back and shoulder pains, Black women. And I'm like, I'm not surprised. You're carrying a lot. A lot of them older daughters, moms taking care of a lot of people, grandkids. I said, yeah, your body is literally saying because you're giving out more support than you're receiving, it's showing up in your physical body.
First of all, the fact that I literally, as you were speaking and just as we're sitting, I'm like, my back hurts so bad. I'm over here literally, I don't know if you know, but I've been shifting and trying to twist because my back.
And you said it earlier.
It's so bad.
And this is not, obviously not having no session here, but I would tap in with where you're not feeling supported.
Let me count, right?
How
much time we got? How much time?
That's the thing when you get and I think this is one thing I would say is so important in this conversation is give yourself permission to let life be an adventure.
Yeah.
And I know, and I'm a vision girl. Like you read my book, I'm all about a life plan. If you're in any of my coaching programs, where we'll have you have we want to know what your vision, and always keep space for the incredible unknown that you don't know, that God wants to value, and there'll be things you don't see. But back to you in this physical piece.
That's like before you said it, I literally just said my back hurts so bad. That is wild. You see what I mean? Like,
It's real. It's real.
oh
Yeah.
You want to do a quick something on that?
I mean, sure, why not? Listen, y'all can see. Let's do this thing.
I'm doing the whole session. But this is the piece too when I talked about identity being foundation. And what was the next was authority, right? So in our next chapter framework, we often talk through identity, we get to authority. And we have to take, especially as women, take authority of our bodies.
Yeah.
And so there's some affirmation work I would have you do around the back piece.
Especially on your exact piece that
I am supported and speaking into the pain where it's showing up. And then also, so let's do it together. I'm ready. We doing it.
I need to do it too. My back's not hurting, but
Okay.
and
Actually, I'm gonna actually trust you to trust your body.
Okay.
So let's speak into this part that is feeling full. And does that resonate for you? Because
Absolutely.
project. Does it?
No, yes. We were literally just saying, how do I become more feminine when I'm forced to be so masculine and take care of so much without assistance? So without the support. And so I'm like, yo, this is wild. Because we had this conversation yesterday. And you weren't in our conversation.
I wasn't.
Because we were in the car with nobody else in the car. And then in the house having the conversation in the bathroom. You weren't in either of those places. Y'all.
So I want you to rub into where you're feeling the pain. And in this moment, speak I am supported into that spot.
I am
supported. And say it a couple more times. I am supported. And is there anything else that you feel you need to hear in this moment?
And I can trust the support that comes. Amen. Amen.
Yeah, that's what we could go there. Go ahead. And I've been in it, I usually don't, I give them people like the wounded healer, right? Is the person who's been through their own journey. One of the reasons, because I've been through a lot.
Yeah.
I've just been on a journey of, I wanted to be good. And through that, I did study it for me. I'm like, well, girl, let me tell you,
that's me. That's me story. That's me. I'm just like, this is about me. Somewhere, like this is about we say that. I say this all the time in the podcast. I'm like, look, y'all.
for me.
Healing is for me. Like, it's not about me not cussing you out. It's about me not wanting to cuss you out. It's nice that you don't get cursed out, but it's also nice that I don't feel that anxiety in my chest and that lump in my throat because I'm swallowing the awful thing I want to say. I just don't even want to have that. Like, I want to feel good inside myself and not even feel the reaction bubbling up, as opposed to like, I'm stuffing this down so I come out this nice and healed, and I come out this.
No,
Not
that's the thing.
I want to be really healed by myself.
But also, so now you letting it out, right? So when I talked about the cancer diagnosis, it was a suppression of emotion that manifested, and it was on the right side of my body. So that's my masculine, right? And so what I hadn't expressed around, and I had a phenomenal dad who I have a phenomenal relationship with. And from ages of 5 to 13, I lived in Atlanta, my family was there, he lived in California. And so that suppressed feelings of emotion showed up in my body. So it wasn't because of him, it was because I didn't express what I was experiencing. So now that's why I'm radically expressed, because I won't let it sit in me.
Yeah.
So paying attention to what sides, just high level, and I know we kind of live there, but I think I trust the spirit, so I know there's people who need to feel empowered in their physical body.
And learning to listen. Yeah, we talked about that before, like learning to listen to your body. Like even doing body scan meditation, we've talked about where you just meditate and you literally check in with every part of your body from head to toe and notice any discomfort, notice any tingling, notice parts that do feel good. Like, okay, like I feel really good in my throat right now. Like this feels, I can breathe well. Like, so I love that we talked about that, because I am always so shocked at just when I speak to Black women specifically who don't even know how to take a proper breath. Like that for me is just like, it's such a disservice to us as women who don't know how to breathe into our womb, who don't know how to fill our lungs with air. Like I cannot.
But it's so new ground. Most of us are first generation. Have feeling like our bodies actually belong to us.
Yes. That we can make decisions so far about
It's time for me. So I've had to do a lot of healing in my womanhood journey to release patterns and forgive the women who didn't have it to teach me.
Yeah.
I didn't know. They weren't holding out. And
they didn't happen to
They
me.
honestly just didn't know. So, and you're the one. We're often the one, which is why we get to do this work and have these conversations. Because, I want to talk about sales cycle and business, and I love that. And none of that will work and move forward if we don't ground.
This particular conversation has been so good. Like,
Yes.
listen, from the release of the pain in my back by reminding my physical body that I am supporting and that I can trust the support, to you giving us all the tips and tools as to how to tap into the stories that you tell yourself in your own power, from victim to victor, just the greatest gifts you've received, how we can walk through our own, like how do
We have a lot. This is jam-packed. This is a jam-packed episode with all the gems and diamonds and rubies. And we really hope you guys take something away, because there's a lot to take away. This is one of the ones you got to listen to a couple times. Because like, did she? Oh my God, I missed that the first time. Like, this is one of the ones that you're gonna have to re-listen to and share with people, because we all have to move through these things, and this is something that is just the human experience. And if we can find ways to kind of navigate this human experience in a better way, in a healthier way, in a more efficient way, then we can really start living the lives that we want for ourselves. So thank you so much for sharing and for giving us all of this information, like real information and knowledge that we can apply to our lives. So where can our people stay connected with you? Where can they maybe get services from you? Like how can they stay in the loop with you?
Oh, this has been so good. So find me on IG, where I talk about how we can all own our messy truths and edit our life story to really be the star in our life story. So that's often what I would say. You can't be a victim and a star at the same time. So you have to choose to be the star, and when the plot twist comes, we know the hero's still gonna win because it's my story. So to answer the question, sorry, I got off track. Okay, to stay connected, find me on IG at Charreah, CHARREAH. And if you want to find out more, I talked a little bit about my inhale system. Just send me a DM with the word reclaim. If you know you want to reclaim your power, reclaim your identity, reclaim your authority, be excited again for your future, just send me a DM with the word reclaim, and I'll be sure to send you more information.
Yeah. And you stay connected. Yeah, you can stay connected to me at the Danny Bordeaux. Bordeaux is BOURDEAU. You can stay connected with Triggered at TriggeredAF PC on IG. You can go to TriggeredAF Podcast.com so you can stay up to date with the latest episodes. And then go to TriggeredAFEvents.com to see when we're coming to a city near you.
Yes, and you can stay connected with me everywhere, all over, at Alicia Reese, ALECHIA. Y'all know my parents got excited. Last name Reese, REESE. And until next time, we will see you soon.
Bye.